Welcome back to Inventing Construction. I'm Ross Griffin, and today we're going to talk about the advantages of 4D and 5D in the execution stage. Our subtopics today are the advantages of using 4D and 5D, what is needed to make this happen, who are the main stakeholders involved, and where should people or companies start when they want to implement 4D and 5D. And we're going to cover topics like advantages in the execution, how we engage with clients, architects, engineers. More importantly, how 4D and 5D engage with each other. Should they be integrated together as one, or should they be separate, managed by their specialists? But within the 4D and 5D process, the implementation is quite difficult, you'll find. There is a traditional way of looking at planning. There's a traditional way of looking at costs, and the new digitized approach is a much more integrated way. This is going to become the challenge for all planners and cost specialists out there. And today we have a very special guest, Omar Habib, very famous Omar Habib. Welcome, Omar.
Welcome, Ross. Thanks for getting me on your podcast.
No problem. It's wonderful. It's wonderful to have you. And actually, we're here in Limerick, so we're looking out over the Shannon here in our hometown of Limerick, which is really cool. But Omar, perhaps you can give us a little introduction to yourself, your past, your present, and what you're doing here talking to me.
So, I'm a civil engineer by background.
Yeah.
Then I have started my professional career as a BM engineer.
Okay.
Was one of the biggest company in the Middle East.
Yeah.
It was ranked 7th at the world at this time.
Okay.
And I started my career with them in something called Talent Program.
Okay.
Since 2013. I have been working with them up to 2017. Then I moved to working in planning.
Okay.
Then after planning, I think started as a BM engineer, QS, coordination, design, all that. Then I moved to planning, so I have good understanding of how we plan the work itself. Then I moved to be a digital delivery manager.
Yeah.
Then now I'm here with WiiGroup doing making the team, trying to digitalize or bring in the digital side for the project management service we are providing.
Excellent.
This is a short one.
Yeah. And I think we met online on LinkedIn and many years ago, Omar, and then at a conference. Was it in Dublin or London? I can't remember.
I remember the first time was kind of a discussion about the 4D and the 5D.
Yeah.
And I wasn't really know at this time. After a while, I know that you are very specialized in the 5D area.
Yeah.
So I think that the conversation about the benefits and how this things is important to the construction.
Yeah.
And I think we both having the argument about the terminology of the 4D and the 5D.
Yeah.
I was working in the 4D, but I wasn't really believing on the idea of, I don't think there's something called 4D and 5D, 6D and 9D, but this terminology we use to simplify the concept for our end user.
It's all integrated at the end of the day. That's our message from Cosmos as well, is that if you change something in one of the dimensions, it has an impact on the other dimensions. Correct, if you change cost, it has an impact on 3D and design, for example, or specification. Or if you change time, it has an impact on cost and has impact on design. Everything is integrated in it. So it's not like one dimension is separated from another or one delivery is separated from another.
Yeah.
They're all mutually inclusive together, working together in tandem.
Yeah, we have this conversation. I remember that when I was discussing, is the 5D, so is the 4D before the 5D?
Yeah.
You remember this conversation?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
It was nice because most of the guys saying, 4, then 5, then 6. Then no, it doesn't work like that.
No, that's exactly it. Like we have our discussions as well with our clients and talking about BIM and, this sequence of numbers, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and it's incorrect. The numbers are incorrect. Like you say, terminology is not right because people perceive that 4 follows 3 and 5 follows 4. The reality is that most projects, a budget is put together first for the project.
Correct.
And sometimes along with the design concept or the schematic inception kind of scope requirements for the project. And as you're developing that, you're developing cost. So is 5D not cost?
Yeah.
And is that not done then before 3D? So it's an interesting debate, but I think it'll continue for quite some time. But 4D and 5D in the execution stage. I believe that you guys in WiiGroup, this is your specialization then, that execution phase. Maybe you can talk a little bit about that, Omar.
So basically, WiiGroup, we are a consultant. Yeah. So we are supporting different categories like client, contractor, and whatsoever subcontractor.
Yeah.
So basically, my background, most of my work was with main contractor and client side. And it wasn't much in subcontractor, but a little bit. But as WiiGroup, we are consulting all the stages. So if we talk about today about execution, it's tricky to discuss the 4D and the 5D in this area anyway. To be honest, the question is what's the advantage of implementing the 4D and the 5D here? I would say in simplicity, keep people informed.
Yeah.
And the way you are looking at the 4D itself, and how you tell a story and how you give your client an information related.
Yeah.
I remember my first 4D report was look like, I'm telling you something, it was just inside the PowerPoint.
Yeah.
So I was working in a big project that I just gave you the area, 4 kilometers by 3.
Yeah.
This is the area of that project, and it was worth 12 billion.
Yeah. Yeah.
So nice. I was a planner at this time. So I'm looking at myself, I have to report that in a weekly basis.
Yeah.
Could you tell me how? So this is the first advantage of the 4D.
Yeah.
You could just showing a picture and you could inform. So sometimes the level of detail depend on the end user who's going to see that.
Yeah,
like for example, the client, he need to know, are we working on zone number 20 or not?
Yeah.
This is the answer for the client. But for the contractor, which stage we are there? Are we doing the piling or are we doing the slabs?
The granularity.
For the subcontractor, you need to know, did you submit technical subs?
Yeah.
Did you submit initiate the BO?
Yeah.
This is since different end user.
Yeah.
So my first one was just PowerPoint. You know what I was doing? I was doing just shapes, the PowerPoint shapes.
Yeah.
Like you add in a shape for a specific area and I give it a specific color.
Yeah.
And this color representing what we are doing there.
Yeah.
Like yellow color, we are doing piling. So red color, we are doing slabs.
Yeah. Something
like that.
Yeah.
At this time, this was impressive. It was 2013, by the way.
Yeah.
So it was impressive. The reason is big project, and you just have 5-6 slides that tell you what's happening everywhere.
Yeah.
Then my manager saying, okay, Omar, you know what? We have bought one of the products that's supporting 4D at this time was, I don't know, could you say Synchro?
Yeah.
But it wasn't Bentley at this time. It was just a dependent company.
Yeah.
He said, we have this software now. Could you try and doing that? I don't know. During this time, Clive from Blannerly.
Yeah.
He was working with Vico office. We're trying to see all the sales options. He did one of the presentation on us to see if it's gonna work for us or not. Anyway, so going back for that synth, he said, you know what? We have a software that's providing a 4D. Could you start learning this?
Yeah, looking at it.
I don't know what's 4D look like. I'm a video engineer and I understand what 3D look like and what's the benefit. What's 4D we're gonna do? In the beginning, I feel struggling to get the benefit of that. After a while, when I get up and running, I start looking at the 4D as how to tell 1,000 information in one picture.
Yeah.
If the picture cannot tell the client, it can tell the manager, the director, and it cannot help him to get
understand
the understanding and taking action, it's not 4D.
Yeah.
And I have a small thoughts here.
Yeah.
I feel like 4D is not the product.
Yeah.
4D is the process behind that.
Yeah.
The reason why I'm saying that is, okay, well, I could show you now a great work of animation using Cinema 4D.
Yeah.
This is completely not construction software.
No.
It will be fancy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You'll like it.
Yeah.
Then I'll set with you. Is that for you? 4D? Yes. 3D is represented. Time is represented. Yeah. Well, it's fantastic 4D product.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
This is the point. Yeah. When you understand what's 4D as, you will feel, or you can see how that will impact the client, how that affect the client needs, what is the advantage of using that and that and that.
Yeah.
So starting with, it's a process that we could integrate with different project parties that we could bring their information visually.
Yeah.
So look, for example, I give you something not visual. For example, the procurement process.
Yeah.
It's quite how you gonna represent that?
Yeah.
So we have different colors for every step, and we're showing that in front of you in your model. So if you see an orange color, that means that the BR has been issued. Green color, that means the BO issued. Then maybe in the fat now, then deliver to site in a simple way to represent your procurement. I'm not talking about execution.
No.
So something starts making sense.
Yeah, visually.
Digitally.
Yeah.
And now people feeling like, if you're working that project I was talking about, 12 billion.
Yeah.
So you think how people is happy now. A lot of information has been summarized in one picture. Yeah. You look there, you see something red. That means in let's say in fat testing or this kind of stuff. Yeah. Green, deliver to site. Yeah. It's not green. Why is not delivered to site? And you start the process from there. Yeah. For execution, we have the advantage for execution now. We have 4 stages we might discuss here is engineering, procurement, and the guys on site, construction,
installation
team, and how they communicate together. Yeah, look, communication by according to the BMI is the biggest challenge in the construction management.
That's right. Yeah,
it's biggest challenge. Everyone think he know. Everyone think he understand.
Yeah,
but getting back to that Lego house in WiiGroup, we have done a lean construction workshop in our office. So what we have done is we said, guys, we have 30 minutes. This was David's idea, actually. It's a very nice idea. I like it. In the beginning, I wasn't feeling that it's important, but it's really simplified the challenges.
The story.
Yes, the story. We have 30 minutes to get the Lego house done in our office. And surprisingly, once we finish that, the guys, we get it done in 80 minutes. Yeah. Just 30 cube of Lego.
Yeah.
He said, what's happening there?
Why is it taking so long?
There is no surprise. Yeah. There is no surprise. What's happening there is exactly what the BIM are telling us, that communication, how people communicating, how people planning for their work. Yeah. And the good takeaway there from there, if you making a plan, follow the plan. So 4D is helping you to you all seeing the same picture. Yeah. You all could set inside a meeting room, looking at the model and taking action. And now it turns everyone's experience to just, when you see a movie, you could give a comment without being an actor.
What I noticed when it comes to 4D or planning, if we talk about planning for a second, Gantt charts, traditional planning, there's very few people that can read a Gantt chart and understand it. Yeah. Especially on a $12 billion project, that's impossible. Yeah. Because it's just, and if you go down to the level of the subcontractor granularity, then forget about it. You wouldn't find a room big enough to hang the Gantt chart. Yeah. And so what I feel by what that 4D is doing is it's simplifying the timeline and the visualization of the timeline for people that are not planning experts. Correct. So I'm not a planning expert.
Correct.
I look at a Gantt chart. It takes me some time to understand the flow, the critical path, etc. But when you look at a 3D model, visualization, what you talked about, the cinematography, the software you use, you go, wow, that makes sense. I can see the reinforcement going into the foundation on this date. I can see the concrete going into the same foundation the next day. All that makes sense. So if you're planning visually and representing visually, most people, the majority of the team, the majority of the people you're speaking to can see it and understand it. And that's the advantage, I would say.
Something came in my mind now, like by the way, this is a human nature. Look, while we are talking now, what we are doing now, Ross, what we are doing, we have things in our head now. Yeah. We're trying to present by talking.
Yeah.
You have thought and how you present this thought by talking. Yeah. Well, this is the point of the 4D, that you are visualizing your thoughts so everyone could talk about, I give you an example now. You shouldn't be an actor to give feedback about the film you have, a movie you just watched, a slide. I don't like this bit now because you've seen it. Yeah. So you use, now go back to construction. When you see a specific concept, sequence, you say, no, it doesn't work like that, guys. Yeah. Now you are using your construction experience without having planning experience. Yeah. No, this is not correct. Yeah. You should move this there. And look at, I would say that big part of the planning itself, it's about the soft logic. Yeah. What I mean by soft logic, again, back to the 20 billion project, you have a lot of zones working together in parallel. So if this zones you have a criticality here because the client needs to submit this a specific date. Okay, you have milestones, you have your scenes, and good. But what about the soft logic? Like you could start three zones together.
Yeah.
What about what if scenarios? It's really helping you when talking about execution phases.
Optioneering, if you like. These what different options of execution. If we did A or B or C or D, how would that look overall in terms of the time schedule? It's the same for cost actually, but very interesting.
And going back for something very important related to cost is, for me, I said that 5D is 4D and 5D is important, but for me, optimizing the resource is the key for both to success. I give you something called, just think about this now, soft clash. When I said soft clash in BIM, that you understand that, so two things is not really intersected, but by specific standards, you cannot, these things shouldn't be near to each other, but why 20%, for example, 20 centimeter, for example. So, okay, this is soft clash. You know what soft clash in project management? So if I have a lot of backlog, for example, I should have done 10 activities this week, but I have done 6. So I have 4 activities backlog. What should I do? You are trying to increase the productivity. You're trying to change in, and going back for, you do what if scenarios. Well, very good. You are very good planner. You could do everything. You could bring whatsoever resources, if you have this a case, to your client. But look, who said that the area they are working on it will allow you to bring all these resources? The number, the correct number to work. Like if you have a big wall, needs 2 painters to get it done in a day. It doesn't make if you add 10, it will be 2 seconds.
Exactly.
It doesn't work like that. No. The human side. So when you look at the resourcing you're adding, visually it makes sense. They are now grabbing everyone experience to the room to discuss, and this is called soft clash. From construction management perspective, you cannot add 3 trucks. And another thing, for risk. For safety. When I work in a project and I see a lot of area, like this area has 4 safety issue through the last 3 months, 3-4 issues. Okay, and now you are saying that I'm gonna add 10 trucks there. And you have 3 in the last 3 months. You have 3 truck issues. Who can tell you no? I think in the normal way, they do a lot of effort to tell you, no, you cannot. Okay, but now I could just highlight it. This area we have a safety issue here and there, and simply saying, guys, I think we couldn't because of that, and it's good tracking for your project as well. So as we go,
and that's done visually, then Omar, within a visualization of what the trucks are. So you're doing 3 trucks the last couple of months. Now you want 10. Let's look what that looks like. The place is congested now with vehicles, and you see health and safety issues on pedestrian crossings and loading, unloading, etc., etc. I'm telling you something. My first 4D job in Europe was in Denmark. Was a Danish company. And the exercise I've done with them was just safety. I'm surprised. I to be honest, in this part of the world, I feel safety is important, but it's not like you need to do a full demo for 4D. Just saying how safety is doing. The good news about the 4D is as we go, we are storing our data in the model itself. So now it's not about just saying the time frame. It's not the time. So if you go back months ago, I couldn't tell you how many resources were there, the material, the man hour we have spent there. I could build something for your company norms. As we go, we have records has been added or recorded on that activity or that time schedule. So once we have done or finished this project, you have a good lesson learned from that project because you have the full history. You could take this as a start from the new job. Next one, exactly. But let me come back a little bit. So we've talked quite a bit about the advantages of integrating this within the execution. But what is needed to make this happen? Like, what information is needed? How do you engage with the other stakeholders? But from an information perspective, what do you need for 4D and 5D in the execution? I
will start with the strategy. I would small concept, then I go for what we need from the client. I will start with, I think that we should sample. We should be in sample. So digital, whenever the digitalization come to any industry, the biggest challenge is how to make it simple
Yeah.
to the guys that used to normal workflow.
Exactly.
I'm gonna ask you first this question that whenever you're working with a client in the 5D perspective,
Yeah.
do you find that when you go there, you learn them how to do the cost estimation?
Yeah.
Do you think that you start, guys, forget about what you're doing?
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you how to do that.
Yeah.
Is this how you start with them? Just if you have any thoughts here.
5D is complicated, so we're not at that level when we speak to some of our clients. We're only speaking on information, their position of the budget versus the current design, the estimate, the visual analytics around that.
Yeah.
We don't get into the conversation about 5D and exporting information in IFC format from the models and how we do it in Costex. No, we don't. That's our technical process.
Yeah.
It's the output we discuss.
I would say this symbol, and I would say it's best practice as well, because whenever you jump to any one industry and you're saying, guys, what you're doing today, the normal one, tradition, it doesn't work anymore. I'm going to start learning you how to be digital. Everyone going to be panic. And I don't want to say panic, but just saying, we doing that for a while. It's last 20 years and our company is moving and making more revenue. Why
do we need this?
Why you need this? And everyone could challenge this. So I would say, the strategy for my, I recall my brother Abdu is so always saying, simple, solid steps.
Yeah.
So you keep going simple.
Yeah.
And you have the big plan.
Yeah.
So I would say to be successful in implementation and telling the client what I need you as information on these things, first thing, you should have an experience and you have done this before.
Yeah.
The reason why I'm saying they've done this before, because a lot of people now think the 4D and 5D is just the fancy model simulation we are seeing everywhere. If you have done the simulation, you are a good man. You are a good man, by the way, but not in 4D.
No.
Sorry for this.
Yeah.
Going back. So solid steps, you have the big picture.
Yeah.
The big picture for the 4D and the roadmap. What's the final product will look like depend on your experience. And here when I talk about experience, I'm talking about the technical experience. Like if you are talking about planning and cost, you should have the principles of planning and cost before going digital.
You can't bolt on
a
digital solution to something you don't already have in terms of process. Process first. Understand process, then your digital solution.
You know, if you don't have this solid skills here, what you're gonna do is you go for that model, is the simulation, and you just write in dates and total cost.
Yeah.
And you have no understanding what's that
where
mean,
it came from,
what's cost breakdown there,
what happened exactly. Put a simple plan, a solid understanding, and the third point then of delivery for your client in order to succeed.
Yeah. This is the strategy. When I start with the overall idea, then now going to what you need from your client. I would say it's different methodology. Everyone has his own way to doing though. But and even the client's perspective, like some client asking for a full 4D and 5D implementation, which means that you go through, you take this journey through the project from A to Z. But part of, like now what happened is some clients asking just for a video. Like this is one video month, that's it per month. It depends what he needs. So to be honest, you don't need to be smart enough and to be very genius and doing a lot of stuff. You need to align what he needs first, writing this, which is the EIR first, and understanding what he needs, and then you make a plan from there. But what I need from the client is first understanding why he using this. Is this more summarizing for what happened through the last month? So now it's more simulation, and I'm trying now more to tell a story. What happened there, and there. And I'm starting with my team doing the whiteboard, how we gonna tell a story, the camera situation, positioning, and because we need to have the same exact camera position in the next month to compare apple to apple. And this if he needs just a final product to compare with. But if he need us to do the analysis as we go through the life cycle, this is the things I love doing that. I love to be in this situation that asking about what we have done, how we could do better, what's the delays, how we could. So now it's bigger value for the 4D. So
absolutely.
When we understand which paths we're going to go, then we start setting a workshop with the planning team and the guys, the BIM team or the digital team. The reason why, if we succeed in the first couple of months to implement the standardization in a good manner, and I think that you are doing that as well in the cost side, you will have a huge impact in terms of what you do in the 4D effortless. Like you could standardize just the naming convention,
your work breakdown structure, your naming convention,
and now you could take it from there and just simply presenting your simulation, and it will make your analysis life much easier.
Oh, yeah.
Triggering a specific code to analyze what the BM done here, what the solution could do better, and you keep recording that, and you go and you
project by project, even month by month on the same project will give you an awful lot of value.
Yeah.
But imagine if you're doing it on all your projects month per month, and you're analyzing the, concrete output and against different projects in the same structure. Suddenly you realize that project B is much quicker for some reason on their concrete output. Yeah. What are they doing differently?
Yeah.
Let's look at that closely to understand why, and then you can begin to implement these efficiencies on other projects.
Correct.
Right now, it's the same for cost. And I just want to go back one step. When you say you can do the simulations, a lot of clients ask you for just a simulation at the end of the month. A lot of clients ask us just for a cost estimate at the end of the design gateway. We do it, but we would much prefer to be embedded in the process, like you say, to standardize it, to control change management, risk management, monthly reporting to the client in a standardized way, so that the client has the finger on the pulse of the project. Retrospectively looking at the end of the stage, looking backwards, has very little value.
Yeah.
Because it has happened already.
Yeah, correct.
You can't change it. It's the past.
Yeah.
And so if there is big mistakes and errors, you then need to go into this kind of reactive mode to bring the project back if you can. And as you mentioned, most people, what they do is they put more people on the project. Yeah. And that doesn't give you increased efficiency, It actually reduces efficiency. You have more people, but you're less efficient with that number of people.
Yeah, correct. And I would like to just add something here related to the client, what we need from the client as well. And understanding what he needs first is important. Standardize and maintain the data pipeline, just to know who will get what and who is responsible about every data we got just implemented. And as well, change management. Look now how we're struggling with the change management now. In like, if something, we are working in a dynamic projects. Yeah. This is a type of project we are working on. So you cannot expect that all your project will look like the same. Yeah. You cannot expect the same challenges. So you're expecting a change management from day one. If you maintain a correct work process to capture all the changes through the 4D, you get, or the 5D even model, you did a huge success. Yeah. Last things here is, you remember the quantification issue was a planner and cost management is cost engineers. Yeah. So the cost engineers looking at the BQ, bill of quantity, and says, okay, this is a bill of quantity according to the quantification I got from the model whatsoever. And the planning, no, he looking at the quantities, and he just, because he have like 10 activity assigned to the same quantity, a line item in the BQ, for example, the same quantity. So what he's doing is he's just giving a percentage, okay, 30% roughly estimation, roughly percentage. And if he's using B6, for example, the B6 will distribute that uniformly. Yeah. So what he's telling you is not the fact. No. If I'm getting the earning value from the planning, it's not correct, because is this right? No, is this the right value in this thing? But when we gauge the 5D, you could know exactly how, like, you could discuss the quantity you need to order today in your BO, and you could know exactly what you need, and you could multiply with a specific fraction
waste,
just waste and this kind of stuff. And I don't think that 100% correct, but I give you something.
It's much closer though.
It's much closer though, but I'm telling you something, the planner is 100% wrong anyway.
I feel that what we need to make 4D and 5D happen in execution, first of all, we need a willing client on the front end to put a digital strategy in place. What I mean by that is, you need an EIR, you need a BIM execution plan, you need to engage your stakeholders, design, cost, planning, even the contractor, supply chain maybe. It needs to be a much more collaborative approach, so that when you do get to execution, you have a very good quality 3D model. You have already your structure in terms of information in place. That has then been transferred in IFC format to whatever software you're using as a planner, whatever software you're using as a cost manager or cost engineer. And that information flow is clear for everybody.
Correct.
If we get to a stage where you're coming onto a project and you don't have any of that in place, that's very difficult to show true value, because first of all, you're looking at the model and saying, that's no good to us. You don't have the information to a quality level that other stakeholders can use. You're only using it for clash detection. Clash detection is not BIM by the way. Clash detection is not BIM, So and this is our challenge, I would say, in the execution. The models are just not good enough because the stakeholder group and the client don't understand the value that could be taken from models if the setup was day one.
Yeah, correct.
So for clients, like, the best thing you could do is, get involved, get your stakeholders involved early, not after planning, but before planning.
Yeah.
It's not expensive to set up and have a discussion around structure and data and all of that, but the benefits are huge.
Yeah, it is expensive, by the way. What's expensive is correcting the mistakes you're going to do.
Exactly. A few hours of a consultancy service at the very early stage, that's not expensive in comparison to the 10 and 20% cost overrun and time overrun later, If we talk about stakeholders in the project, who are the main stakeholders involved in the project that kind of interact with the 4D and 5D process in your experience in WiiGroup?
Yeah, from creation perspective, I would say the project control manager and even the project planner.
Yeah.
And from the other side, the BM management, from BM manager from creation perspective, how we creating, how we agree that the 4D is the process of creating. It's all about the process and not the final product.
No.
So again, go back here. So from creation, I would say project planning, maybe project control department for the process itself, BI manager and the BM coordinator for that project as well.
Yeah.
And from the other side, from the stakeholder or the guys, he really empower the 4D in the project director, the project manager.
Yeah.
I would say the project manager more. You know why? Because you're solving his problems.
Yeah.
You really provide a lot of values for him.
Yeah.
So he's a guy, he's the day-to-day working in that kind of, I would say a good word here is dark problems. That's a good word. Like I'm trying to figure out the project manager day-to-day, he has a lot of things. I have a lot of exercise and things to do. And if he find a specific way, an easy way to understand what's going, and if you even reporting this with data analytics and you are bringing the 4D to a Power BI report, it will give him more statistic information along with the cost and the time, since visually he could take action. So I think the main stakeholder for me, project director or project manager here, from execution perspective.
At least for decision making to work in this way. Another stakeholder group I find hugely important in the execution really is still the design team, the architect and engineer, because change management, in our opinion, needs to be driven through the 3D model in order for it to have a positive impact on 4D and 5D, which will have a positive impact on decision making and the project manager and the team. What we often see is that in pre-construction, we have a very good process of digital design, 5D for cost, procurement. We procure, and then when it goes to the construction site, we forget about the 3D model. Yeah. It becomes 2D drawings and traditional instructions, and you've kind of missed the entire concept of developing a 3D model in the first place.
Yeah.
It's not to cut drawings.
Yeah.
It's to have a digital asset that you can use to build the project and execution. And so what happens is the value that you created suddenly becomes zero because you're not using it in the correct way in execution.
Yeah, correct.
So I think that the architect and engineer are still a very important stakeholder, obviously, along with the client in the execution, because they're involved in that change management, quality assurance, etc.
Yeah, correct. And even the design input, for me as a planner, I shouldn't have it. It's good to know, and good to have the technical background and experience in every project, but it's hard to cover everything. I have background in oil and gas, I have commercial, residential, but my first project in Ireland was pharmaceutical. I have no understanding what's pharmaceutical going. Now I have much, but what I'm saying is the technical team will help you to understand more and help you to plan better, and planning better will affect your planning time schedule, your 4D and even the 5D work you're doing there.
It's the same for cost managers, quantity surveyors, cost engineers. You need an appreciation for the architecture and the structure and the MEP and the specialist systems. You're not the expert in it. You don't need to design the hot water system, but you need to appreciate how it's constructed so that you can cost it, and you can manage change, etc., etc. But you're there to support the design team, you're there to support the client, and you're there to try and get as much knowledge and information from them to support your role. So again, collaboration is a big part of this, I would say. So I think we have covered advantages of the 4D and 5D process. Again, it's not the technology, it's the process we're talking about here. And we talk about process an awful lot on the podcast, especially in relation to BIM, because our view is BIM is a process, not a technology. You embed the technologies into your process once you define what that process is. And from a cost perspective, the process is not the traditional process. Yep. You can't take the traditional process and embed a technology like an estimating software and say, we're doing BIM now. Well, no, you're not. Because if your traditional process is not about collaboration and integration, transparency and communication, then implementing a digital technology on a traditional process of we receive the design at the end and now we do something, that's not BIM, because BIM is about communication at the end of the day, along the entire project lifecycle. But Omar, if people or companies are considering, transitioning to a 4D and 5D process in the execution, this will relate particularly to contractors and construction management consultants, etc. What advice could you give them? Where should they start?
To implement the 4D and 5D, I would say start with MVP, start with minimum viable product, especially if you are working with a client or a company, they have no experience with this before. Because you'll listen to a lot of funny words there. Because looking nice animation, and so start with something just to prove the concept. I would say as well, start with their problems, solve them something they really need, instead of just showing something very nice and fancy or nice
lovely
looking
colors and
if you solve this problem, I tell you something, you will bring you to every meeting, because you're seeing you as a problem solver and someone he could think out the box, rather than someone useless just doing a fancy 4D scenes and 5D. Going back, I would say how was the advice in starting, engage the team. Make sure that you have a big picture or the roadmap, how it's gonna look like at the end, and learn from your previous challenges. I'm trying to tell something here. If this company never started doing anything related to the 4D or this kind of stuff, and you are there, and they don't have a structured way to store their problems and how they work on site, and it's a good start to tell them that this is the construction methodology here and there, and you go and get feedback, start streamline the process to get this feedback, and showing them how we could do better from your perspective, but trying to get the buy-in from the guys working with you. Remember, it's about the process, not about the product. If you engage them, you got more value things here, move further as well, starting to select a suitable 4D tool for your work. The reason is, it's just we're using this tool because our can be paying for that part of the package we are paying. Sometimes this tool might be something web-based. You don't need to have the very desktop heavy softwares and this kind of stuff. It's just simple web-based application can solve you. Sometimes, like when you talk about the 4D and this 5D, we have a very well known things using people using that because this is what we know. Doing kind of a digital assessment of this is a good takeaway as well for the company in the beginning, to understand the needs, understand where is the shortage, where is the advantage things you are doing. If that might be the good things he know from digital assessment, that they have a lot of people have this experience in the 4D or the 5D, but they didn't use it just because the company approach at this time we're not going for that far.
I think that's an interesting point, because there's a lot of people out there really interested in developing their skills on the 4D and 5D concept in execution, but the companies that they're currently working for don't have the appetite for it. And they're kind of struggling internally then, because they want to do something different and it's business as usual within the organizations. there's lots of opportunity out there, with young companies like yourselves. You're looking for good people that are really interested in and engage in this type of stuff. So reach out to Omar. He'll sort it out for you.
I'm telling you something funny here. When I started, I'll tell you again, for my first early project was big enough.
Yeah.
And I have learned the 4D at this time. I was certified by 2015. So within 2 years, I got the good concept.
Yeah.
So I've tried to implement that to any new project. After 2 or 3 years there, I have been working. I went back to work on the HQ. So not only assigned on a specific project, it's all the project
portfolio.
Yeah, it's all the portfolio. So it depends where you are. So part of the project we work on, I try and just implement the 4D for no reason. Oh, guys, it's nice. We did it there. Yeah. Just pushing, just doing. Yeah. This is good to take away here.
Yeah.
If you have good 5 suits, nice look, and you have one occasion, you just pick the one that suits you to this day. You don't choose them all.
No.
What I'm trying to recall here is, when you go for another project, don't recall the same success you did in the previous one. Understand the project needs first. Understand the people mentality and people skills first. Yeah. And starting with the MVP, that telling them, oh, guys, we could do that, and this will help you to solve 1, 2, 3, and start getting the buy-in to go further. But actually, we keep talking before I have a really interesting question for you here. Yeah. If you could just let me know, what is the challenges? Because I really stuck in this area. What is the challenges that you see while implementing the digital cost management instead of 5D? Nice word here.
Yeah.
Guys, I know some people don't like the 5D word, but as just a terminology, what is the challenge you face when you are doing a estimate for a company and you start in doing that?
Yeah.
And let's comparing that with the 4D things in terms of the challenges. Could you go?
The principles are the same, I would say, from a 4D perspective planning to the 5D. The information you're trying to use is prepared and produced by someone else. So the 3D information, the design information, is prepared and produced by other stakeholders. And the biggest challenge, I would say, is that people are not understanding that you need to be engaged with those stakeholders when they're developing that information. So you, as the digital 5D expert, get the value from that information. So your workflow becomes much quicker and smoother in that communication. So the biggest challenge for us, I would say there's 2. One is the quality of information you're receiving. We have a solution for that. You need to be engaged in that. The second one is the understanding on the stakeholder group or from the client. They don't really understand the value of standardization, of cost data, of the assessment of cost data on a portfolio level. Everybody is still looking at construction as a linear process. We start, we finish. That's a project, we're done. Next project, we start, we finish. We repeat this over and over again. No one's looking at the cyclical process of data collection from project to project to project to project. So we get much more informed and better. They're the 2 big challenges from our perspective when we talk about the project.
If we have kind of, let's say, assemble roadmap for implementing or like a giveaway for a client, that, okay, guys, how I know that I'm badly needing to implement the 5D in my company. Could just give a roadmap how you know, because the reason is, I have a cost team. Why I know I need 5D? Yeah. This is the point I'm really struggling to understand. I'm not struggling to understand. I'm just struggling to explain it to the clients. Guys, when you need that, because 1, 2, 3, 4 in terms of the cost management. Yeah. Could just trying to mention some points related to that.
Like traditional models are, you get a big team of quantity surveyors, you put them on the project, and they administer information, and it's generally analog. So we have a change. We talked about change management earlier. Change happens. Design team issue a new drawing. The drawing is bubbled. Quantity surveyor goes, oh, we have a change. Let's quantify this change to understand the impact. The original drawing versus the new drawing, original cost versus the new cost impact. But they sit down and they do that manually. On a 200 million euro project, you might have 1,500, 3,000 changes, depending on how good or how bad the design or the client's engagement is. If a quantity surveyor needs to do that, you need a big, huge team of QSs What we're saying is that implement a digital workflow. And what you'll do is you'll remove the need for half those QSs, and you'll be able to do it digitally, quicker, more accurately, and to control your decision making. And this is the advantage of that. But by doing that, you're also collecting that data and information. So you're feeding to the next project.
Correct.
And you're analyzing who instigated the change. Was it the architect, the engineer, the client, the contractor? And if you're collecting all your changes digitally and you're assigning those changes to one of these, suddenly you realize who the stakeholder group is causing the most changes. Is it you, Mr. or Mrs. Client? Is it you, Mrs. Architect? Is it you, Mr. Engineer? And I think that's the value of the digital stuff, the digital way of working with, the new way of working with the digital QS. The traditional way is easier because people know it. And it's much more difficult to implement the digital in the middle of the process.
Yeah.
If you haven't decided at the beginning that it's something for you, don't come back halfway through and say, oh, we now need it. It won't work. Because the project has already started in its flow and communication and everything. It's almost impossible.
One other point I think is important as well, the data interpolation. How you integrate different type of softwares and different type of data sources.
Yeah.
How you pipeline this source in the cost management as well.
Yeah. So we simplified it quite a lot. ICMS as our cost structure, NRM as our method of measurement on every project. And then we have a data structure of our projects are based around buildings. If you have 3 different buildings, you have 3 different estimates. So buildings, and that's direct construction only. Then you have a cost for indirect construction, which is the contractor's preliminaries, overheads and profits, etc., and external works. That gives you your entire project. And then you have a separate one for client cost. Every project is the same, always. So if you go onto any of the Cosmos projects, you're going to see external works. You're going to see building 1, building 2. You're going to see building 1 direct and indirect costs.
Yeah.
And if you can overlay the buildings and analyze the substructure in each building to see the value and where the cost drivers are, et cetera, et cetera. It's not complicated. I feel it's not complicated. But when you go to a traditional company and you say, we're going to do ICMS, we're going to structure it in this way. We're not going to use a WBS, by the way, because that's a tender process. It's not a cost breakdown. They're going, hang on a second now. We break our projects up with a WBS, earthworks, contractor, concrete contractor, etc. We're going, that's procurement. That's not cost structure. That's not a data model. That's a procurement process. We can map our ICMS into your WBS and give you your packages, no problem. But you don't structure your economy for your entire project around your WBS because that's not standard. The WBSs can be changed depending on your procurement strategy.
It's more dynamic,
It's way more dynamic, but ICMS, that's fixed.
Yeah.
And so start with that fixed structure because it's standard, and then the output can be whatever you want later.
Actually, thanks for your answer here, because this is exactly what I'd like to discuss.
Yeah.
Like when I give you an example, digital 5D for me is a digital construction, a digital cost management. So you are digitally manage the cost information. We still addressing the cost. It's still the cost process, guys. Yeah. So I'm telling you something. If you sat with an accountant, the guy who will talk about the cost in a different perspective.
Yeah.
Guys,
it's a different data structure.
This is the point. Why you are sticking to the WBS and while you are doing the WBS. So I'm giving an example for, most of the ARB implementation, it takes so long time because only standardize the way of we break down the cost elements. Yeah. The reason is these guys, the planners would like to work in the WBS structure they have. The cost guys would like the line item, and everyone needs his own way doing that. Yeah. And saying it's just all about streamline the process of cost. If it's cost, let's keep it cost. Yeah. Don't bring the procurement cycle process inside that. And if you know
our finance, for example, finance have a different structure within their SAP software, etc. So you end up having, for just cost, you probably end up having 3 to 4 different structures on a project just for cost. Yeah. ICMS for your cost management and your data structure, your BOQ perhaps, or a WBS for your procurement, or you have another granularity for your planning because you need your cost as well with planning. So you have 4D and 5D, and maybe finance have a different structure. All that needs to be mapped, but it's data at the end of the day. And as I say, it's if you look at it from that perspective, it's very simple. At least that's our view.
I have read your, I think it was, let's say a PDF or a paper about the ICMS with, I think, Dr. Allen and yourself and other estimated participators. And it's really interesting because when I look at that, I feel like how hard to push the organization to using this way of structure way. You have done this a lot along the years, and they have their own way to break down.
Yeah, but it needs to be different. You need to completely change internally your structure. You can keep your old structure, but you need to put ICMS on top of it. And then you map all your old projects up to ICMS, and you map all your new projects down if you want to.
Yeah.
But it has to be the standard structure sits on top. And the reason we say ICMS is because it's international. You can go abroad and ICMS will be used by our ICS professionals.
I was saying, you say now we're trying to use an international or a global standard to implement it in the 5D. This is the point I'm trying to ask you a lot, just to go back to the 4D. We don't have international standard.
No.
And this is one of the challenges, like when you see, you can say, okay, guys, buy whatsoever standard, this what should we do?
Yeah.
And now I start developing my own standards. So we should do that from project manager perspective. So when I go to the digital team, he said, no, I have another way to do it though. So from my perspective is the challenge is the digital team is here. The normal guys or the traditional way of process is here. Yeah. We're trying to find a midway to reach because we don't have a global standard. Everyone developing his own standard.
Could you use ICMS as your initial standard structure for planning and map your ICMS to your whatever WBS structure that's available?
Yeah.
So that you're working in your WBS, but you can alter your planning to ICMS so that you're getting the highlights in that level 4 ICMS structure, so that every project is an ICMS structure. Because ICMS is elemental based. You start with your substructure, you move towards your roof, you do your finishes in your MEP. It fits to the process of, on a high level, the planning.
Yeah.
And so then what you're able to do maybe is link cost and time together as a data structure. And suddenly you can begin to understand the cost of time for substructure. If you have, 10 million euro for the substructure and it takes you 2 months, you suddenly see that, oh, hang on a sec, that's 5 million a month for substructure. What's it on the other projects? Are the averages the same? Suddenly you can get into some really interesting stuff and automating time once you have cost, perhaps.
This leads us to the last things I have in my head is the 4D and the 5D is have two faces of one coin. This is a question. Do you think that the answer is positive?
Yeah. I think it is. They're interconnected because time is money at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I think all the dimensions are interconnected. That's the reality of it. The quantity is interconnected with the cost, which is interconnected with time, and you can't separate them. You can't do cost without quantity. You can't do time without quantity.
Yeah.
Time and cost together give you cash flow. So you can't do predictions, cost prediction without time. So they're interconnected. You can't separate them.
I agree with interconnected. I agree with, the infinite, the meta icon. It's like infinite loop.
Yeah.
It's something like that, but it's not, from my perspective, it's not two faces for one coin.
Yeah.
This leads us what you said now. I agree with, it has to intersect just to transfer the information from here to there.
Yeah.
So going back, what you said is, we should try to transfer the cost data, planning data to cost data and vice versa. Transfer is good, but the usage of the planning data is different from the cost data.
Correct.
And the stakeholder there and why we make it so hard, or like why we trying hard to push the information in the two sides. I think this ideal. I like the idea.
Yeah.
Guys, we're in construction projects, we're not following the ideal process.
No.
We trying, we make our best.
We're not there yet. We're not there yet.
Yeah, we're not there yet. Just back to reality.
Yeah.
I found that, just going back to the last word about the 4D and 5D, just trying to understand what you're going to use this information for, and try and make sure that it's a way to interpolate the data together and transferring the data together, but make sure that this the data, the planning objective is clear, and you delivering instead of just making sure how to integrate this data together. And the two guys not sitting in the same table, and they are not even interested in integrated, seeing the benefits. Is this intersected? Is the transferred here to there?
Agreed.
This is my perspective.
That's great, Omar. Thanks very much for joining us today. Thanks very much for listening. There's a LinkedIn link below in the show notes. We would love to connect with you.
We hope you enjoyed it and have you with us in the next one. Thank you very much.